I decided it was time to read this classic for one reason. I started DMing my first D&D campaign, and it was, of course, Curse of Strahd, the OG BBEG himself. So for a little backstory, I am a complete wuss when it comes to horror, suspense, thrillers, all that. I have a vivid imagination. It does not need help. Which is one of the reasons why I never read Dracula before. A friend of mine and a longtime D&D player knew this and wanted to participate in a Curse of Strahd campaign. He also knew I wanted to try DMing at some point, and figured that while I may be too big of a baby to play a campaign like this, I could probably DM one. Before this year and my journey into old school vampires, I had not really thought much about horror, except maybe how to avoid it in any and all aspects of my life. I ended up running across a quote in the process that kind of helped me think about how horror is both created and differentiated. So it says that fear is knowing that a werewolf is hunting you. Terror is when you see it and it charges at you. And horror is realizing that your feet are stuck to the floor. Those are very, very different feels. And hey, this book hits all three. Dracula is also very much set in its own time. It was published in 1897, so it's been a minute. And all the characters are good, God-fearing people, and there are definitely strict gender roles that are present throughout it, both in the problematic glorification and in the denigration side of things, and both for men and women, because they do consider gender to be a binary in this story. So, take it for what it is. It was 1897. It's not anymore. So I wasn't aware before reading this book that it was written through letters or diary entries. This is an interesting format for a book for a couple of reasons, even more so when you're listening to the Audible version in my case. One, using letters or diaries to tell a story means that the amount of detail in the journals does require some added suspension of disbelief in these moments. Because there's no way somebody would be writing in that much detail or writing at all in those moments in time or action. Like, it's just not going to happen. I thought this one did a pretty good job of giving the reader good reasons for why the characters were behaving this way, so in my mind, it was a worthwhile cost for the cool things that it did for the story. In the Audible version, each actor reads their own character's diary entries. That means that you get to see the characters both from inside their own heads, as well as through the eyes of the people around them. And in the audio version, you literally get to hear them. There's no omnipresent narrator. You are being told a story by different people who have their own biases and views. So you not only get to hear all the characters voiced by different people, but you get to hear them imitating each other. So you get to hear what John Quincy sounds like to Lucy Westerlo, or what she thinks he sounds like. You get to hear Van Helsing through multiple people's voices, including his own, and that gives you this kind of conglomerate or amalgamate image of each character. And it can be kind of funny. Like, one of my favorites being Mina Harker imitating Van Helsing, which involves a voice actress with a British accent attempting to imitate an old Dutch dude. For how this affects the story, you also need to remember that everything you see and hear about one character is through the lens of some other character writing the journal. And with such good voice actors, it's really quite lovely. Think about it. Lucy is going to be looked at differently through the eyes of her best girlfriend that she's known from childhood, and through the eyes of the suitor that she turned down. And those differences flavor the whole book, which I think is kind of dope.